Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Dio.
Yeah, Dr. Raymond, good morning, good evening.
Good evening.
It's all right. It's okay. I just want to be sure I'm here. So,
Yeah,
all right, thank you. Well done, sir.
thank you. Welcome aboard.
Good evening, all.
Dr. Usaina.
Good evening, Dr. Ray.
Good evening.
Good evening, all.
Good evening from
Dr. Nani.
evening over
Yeah, sorry, I don't have lights for now, so maybe I will go on audio for now.
Find lights. You're in a class. Find
I
lights.
will find it. You two don't have light, I can't see your face.
Do you know what I want
Dr. Raymond, there's no light. Dr. Raymond, there's no light here. Oh.
There's no light, I can't see your face, Dr. Ray.
Why
No,
We
you
can't see your face.
Why do my face? Why do you do my face? See my face. What happened?
It's a class, so find light.
I always find light now. You know that.
you can't even see me. Where are they? So as are they so here?
Obodo. Sorry, you lost your phone. Sorry.
Dr. Dayo, there's no light too.
There's no light at all. So I won't be where I enjoy myself. So, but I'm listening to the class.
That's good though. I'm waiting for Dr. Santos to come on board.
So far, we are 6. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeremiah.
Evening, Dr. Jeremiah.
You're not there before.
I'm working today without video, please.
Dr. Safia, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you. Good evening.
Evening.
Thank you.
Right, honorable.
Good evening, sir.
I greet you, ma'am. I'm not seeing your face. Are you seeing in the room or the other room?
I'm in the other room.
Let's come to the main room. Let us see your face.
Wait till concern you, Dr. Ray.
Is it not my classmates?
Yeah, okay.
Let's limit this class.
Hello.
This gathering to class activities. So the other room.
Hello, good evening, Dr. Safia.
Evening. Yeah, okay.
Pia.
We are fine.
Yara suna ta zazzabi a haɗe yanzu aka yi discharging last month ina.
Hey.
Wallahi.
So sorry about that.
Inshallah, thank you.
Maya jikin.
Da sauki. Actually, ta yi fever ne, ya yi healing, but tana tari yanzu sosai. She was almost gasping for breath as of the time point we took her to the clinic, but she's okay now.
Subhanallah.
Sanyi ya yawa
kenan.
Yes.
Sanyi ya yawa.
It is well.
Actually, I've not even left me now. I'll be leaving tomorrow morning. Straight.
Okay.
Safe journey.
Thank you. So how far? Where is he? Where is doctor?
We are still waiting for him.
Okay.
He's on the way. I think he's driving into the Zoom.
Thank God he's not flying.
This
is lovely.
It's well.
Now it is.
All right.
Who is using Infinix X6838? Oh, Dr. is here. Okay. Dr. is here. Good evening, doctor.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah,
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Hello.
Hi, sir. You're clear. You're loud.
We are with you, sir.
Hi, sir.
We can hear you, sir.
All right.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. So how are we?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Fine, thank you.
We are trying, but we're buying fuel at 650 now.
You said?
We are trying, but we're buying petrol at 650 naira now.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I said we are fine, but we are buying petrol at the rate of 650 naira per liter.
Well, we will survive by God's grace. No wala.
Amen, but hi.
Hi.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not easy at all.
At all.
Yeah. But we will survive no matter what.
Amen.
We pray so.
Yes, we will.
Amen.
I just had this I think it was this morning, no, this afternoon I heard about the information.
It was in the morning, sir. It was in the morning, actually, in the morning that it started. They just announced everybody changed their meter to 650 or 615, so 620.
Wow. I think it's 617 I bought in Keffi this afternoon.
And in Abuja now it's 620. Some places 650.
Oh, wow.
It is well.
This thing will reach 1,000.
That's
like play.
That's the package.
Yeah.
Even here in Mina, some are selling for 700.
That's serious.
Can you imagine? 700.
This thing before maybe the end of this administration, it will reach 1,000.
Yeah, we are laughing. Okay.
It will reach 1,000.
Okay, this prediction is tough.
You say what?
I said this prediction is I hope it will come to pass, sir.
So, amen to that, but with what is happening, it's almost coming to pass.
Of course. In fact, in this part of the country, it's even better. If you go to the east and the south now, probably they are selling it right now at the rate of 800 or 900.
Yeah, that's someone told me in Lagos. It's always 700 in Lagos now. 700.
That's true.
Of course.
Right.
So in this part of the country, we are trying to keep the government price, but if it is in the east, no, you can't. Or Edo State, before you know it, 700-800 naira.
Well, even at that, black marketers are taking it in their hand. Black marketers, they're selling you at their own at 800. Once it is night that they've locked the inflation, they adjust their price. And no one can control that.
Oh, you see, what?
Unfortunate.
He said he don't want to eat.
So how many people?
Who's in our class? Please don't eat in our class.
Food.
Good evening, doctor.
How many How many of us? I think we can start.
They're about 7 now, plus we're making it 8.
Yeah. So I think we have a sizable number. We can start now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, before we start, I was able to, I hinted Professor Mabio about your interest on the Zoom class, and he welcomed the idea actually. Hello.
Oh, so we appreciate that so much. That's very good.
Hello.
That's very good. We appreciate
Yeah.
that.
So he welcomed the idea very much, and he said that he will look forward for you people's engagement in the Zoom lecture. So maybe probably if you come, I think you are coming tomorrow, Abi.
Yes, sir.
By God's grace. By God's grace.
By God grace. So when you come tomorrow, you can now solidify.
How are you?
Okay.
You can now solidify the arrangement.
All right.
He's the only one that was able to talk to. Professor Guve. Professor Guve is
Okay.
around, I think so. So you may also see him tomorrow as well.
Yes, sir.
It's Akasi that I've not, Akasi and Akpedi that I've not, I was unable to reach out to them. So, but at least we are sure Professor Rabiu will key in. And I'm also optimistic that if you also talk to Professor Guve, he will also key in as well.
Great, Doctor. In that note, I've been able to, hint at Professor Ikufe at the back end. So he promised that when we come to school this week, that we'll be able to, establish that link, and it will be a good one. So we hope that it will be a positive response from what he said so far.
Okay, so I think we can start, and then the children can now excuse us. All right, the children can now excuse
I just
us so
that.
She should off her mic.
Yeah, that's it.
Is she hearing you?
Yeah, I think we're good now.
All right. Okay. Yeah, who will give us a recap? Let's start by taking a recap of.
The children are not with me. My children are not with me, please.
Okay, we are hearing some noise at the background.
My children are not with me. I'm alone.
Then where is the noise coming from? Hello?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, I think all the mics are off now, so I think we are good to go, Saga.
Okay. I can see here some children's voices.
I think it's from Dr. Obodo. Can he mute his mic?
Please do. Before we start. Yes, I was saying that anybody can volunteer to give us a recap of what we discussed last time. Just a recap before we go into what we want to do today. Anybody is free?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just try. Let me just try and reflect on that. So I may not get it right totally. Let me just make a flash.
All right, you can go ahead.
Yeah, on DEFCON approach, on DEFCON, I will talk about approaches that are basically two major approaches, which were responsiveness and, of course, education. Responsiveness focuses on people's participation, the way you said the idea to them and the way they responded for the program, and in or reflective interest to participate. While the education aspect have to do with the provision of information by the numero uno, and of course from the society or the environment that you want to institute the programs, and those are the key approaches that DEFCON, element of DEFCON as a then. And also mention the fact that it has to be simple and relevant language to be used for the program, whichever way. This is a program that has to do with people oriented, and as such, we need to approach the citizens, the environment, the occupant of the environment, whatsoever, with a simple language that they will understand. And it's also, if possible, we make use of the locals that will be able to interpret, the language that we may post, speak in English or traditional language, to the understanding of the indigenes, so we can thrive. And also lay concerns of DEFCON within the Nigerian context,
Hello, maybe you may leave that aspect for another person to
Oh, okay. All right.
to give a
Thank you,
recap
sir.
on that aspect. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, the concerns we raised are issues of poverty. We said poverty affected the outcome of development communication. Ignorance is also a concern we discussed. Not knowing or not illiteracy affects the outcome of DEFCON. Then social inequality is also a gap. The gap between the rich and the poor also affects political interference. We later added lack of interface, religion, and gender bias.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So it means that we are following. Okay. So today we will look at the tasks of the development communicator. The tasks. What are the basic tasks? What are the basic tasks of the development communicator? Liz, before I forget, I think we are not meeting physically tomorrow, please, when you come.
Okay, sir.
Hello?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So tomorrow we will not meet. At least tomorrow's lecture is what we are doing now.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So today we'll talk basically on the tasks of the development communicator. The tasks of the development communicator, and then we'll look at the communication models or framework in DEFCON. I intend us to look at just two of the models, the two communication models or framework in DEFCON, and then maybe we'll close the class. And then maybe probably if we can able to also meet on Saturday again, then we'll now look at some theories. I will send you some theories, maybe a few theories of DEFCON that we need to look at, maybe for if we can meet on Saturday or Sunday evening, as the case may be. Okay, tasks of the development communicator. There is a scholar called Jamias, that's Jamias, Jamias. He conceptualized the tasks of the development communicator. He's a good DevCom scholar who has researched extensively, in the area of DevCom, and he was able to come up with about 7 or 8 tasks that a professional DevCom person is expected, to perform in the communication process. The first task that must be performed by a DevCom person, according to him, is disseminating and interpreting information. Disseminating and interpreting, information. Like we have noted in our, previous class, the development communicator major responsibility is to be able to disseminate useful and relevant information to the people that they can utilize for development, purposes. It went further to explain that to explain that the development communicator major responsibility is to be able to teach people in the community about new ideas or better ideas of doing things so that they can be able to engage in the communication process. And so the first task, according to Jamais, is disseminating and interpreting, information. I want to dwell so much on the interpreting aspect, because people receive information and they have some certain underlying variables in receiving information, particularly in our rural communities. You realize that people have different, framework in terms of interpreting information. And if development communication information is not well interpreted to the people, you discover that they will not take or make informed, decision. And in a situation where ignorant tribes, you realize that misinterpretation of the communication message may lead to injurious behavioral or attitudinal change. Now, I'll give you an example. A good example is, when it comes to health enlightenment campaign, especially in periods of pandemic, I realized that particularly in our local communities, people misinterpret messages, differently. You will recall that during the Ebola pandemic, there was this notion that salt and bathing with salt and bitter cola, something like that, can arrest the infection. So, and you realize that a lot of people went ahead, they drank salt, and I think there were even some few recorded cases of death as a result of that. And so you realize that messages must be trickled down in terms of interpretation. It is one of the major tasks of the development communicator, to be able to step down, to be able to interpret messages to the people so that they can, take informed decisions. Now, number 2 is facilitation. The task of facilitation. Now, the development communication practitioner seeks to help communities in their quest for development, all right? And he does this by carrying the needs, the aspirations, the problems, of these people, either to the government or to the development partners, and back to the government for feedback. So one of the major tasks is, like, the development communicator is a middleman. He facilitates the communication process from the community, to either development partners and then to the government. Now, this interface is very key, is very important, because he is like a major facilitator. So first, he tries as much as possible to identify himself with the people, and then also to facilitate the communication process. He is like a middleman, So so he facilitates the process of the entire, program. And number 3, the next task is education. And like we have underscored, in our previous class, the people need to be educated, because the development communicator provides the knowledge, provides the people of the community with the knowledge, with the skills that they can use for their development. So he imparts knowledge, he imparts information that are essentially relevant to the people, and then so that the people can have options, to take informed decisions to better, their lives. So as he facilitates the process, he's also educating them, as well. And so that's why he also plays the education role by also inviting also experts, partners to come on board and also help the people. So he can bring experts. If it is issues that has to do with health, if it is issues that has to do with education, he brings experts to help them, to educate them on a variety of, topics. And so education is key. And then we also have what we call technomediary. Technomediary, that is techno, that's technology, and then mediary. What this means is, he helps the people to familiarize with them and with the community members with the latest technological know-how, so that it can enhance their production capacity, production of goods and services. If it is farm implements and the rest of them, if there are new methods of maybe farming, new method of mechanized farming, if there are new seedlings, new crops, he helps them, educate them to get the necessary skills needed to apply, in the latest technology or innovation, as the case may be, that may be, in vogue, and will help them, to achieve, their purpose, and so on and so forth. So technomediary. So he helps them to acquaint themselves with the latest technology, in terms of their various businesses or farming. Then the next task is mobilizing. He is a mobilizer. The the development communicator, helps to, mobilize, to make the people to be ready. That state of readiness, number one, to accept what is presented to them, and then the idea that development partners or agents or government will want to, bring to the community in order to enhance their lives. So he mobilized them to make them to, have that state of readiness, open mind, to be able to accept as well as participate in the entire development process. So he helps the people to direct the people's thoughts and actions, and then geared towards development. So he mobilizes them so that they can be able to, participate in government, programs, or any other thing that may help their community. I hope we are following.
Yes, sir, we are.
Yes, sir.
All right. So
Yes,
the
sir.
next,
We are following.
all right.
Yes,
So the
sir, we
next
are.
point. So the next point is networking. Networking. And of course, development communication cannot be successful without networking. So the development communicator develop ties, relationship, links, with people, organizations, agencies, and so on and so forth, and others that will help, in different ways in actualizing the set objective or programs that will be initiated in a community or in a locality. So networking is very important. So you realize that development communicator is actually a very versatile individual. So he networks with development partners, NGOs, government agencies, parastatals, and the rest of them that may be of help, to that community or that. So it means that he must have contacts. He must have contacts. He must have people whom he is going to contact, professionals that may come in, to help the process. And that is why, for those of us who are lecturers, it's important we attend. That's why I'm asking you to attend the forthcoming conference of the Association of Communication Scholars and Practitioners of Nigeria that will be taking place in Abuja. It's something that you need to be there, because in the conference you meet with experts. You meet with, I never thought I'm going to meet with people from NCC, different organizations, different international, and there you get contacts. And if they have an assignment, they can easily call on you. So the development communicator must be versatile in terms of building his contact base, because you will be interfacing with a lot of people, So that is that networking. Now, the next task is researching or research. Is research. Now, for any effective DevCom program to be realized or achievable, research is necessary. We cannot overemphasize, the place of research. So the actions of the DevCom person are actually born as a result of what? Continuous research. Now, it is in the process of carrying out diligent research that you can be able to identify problems and possible solutions. So when you carry out research, you can identify the problem that is bedeviling the people or the community, and then you begin to do analysis. You begin to analyze what needs to be done, what is expected to be done in order to ameliorate or solve the issue. And so research is key. Now, through research, the DevCom communicator finds out the needs and also the aspirations, of the people. So this is very important. So it's a major task that is also the responsibility of the DevCom person. And so according to Jamais, these are the major key tasks. These are the major key tasks of the development communicator. And this task, yes.
Please, I didn't get the second point, because my network had a little itch.
The second point?
Yes.
Facilitation.
After the disseminating and interpreting information.
Is facilitation.
Okay, facilitation. Thank you.
Yeah. Is facilitation. All right. Now, quickly, we now move to the DevCom communication models. Now, there are models. There are models that have been developed by different organizations that provide framework for the implementation of communication programs, for DevCom. And there are so many of them, but I think we'll just limit ourselves to just two major ones. Number one is what we call the P process model. You put capital P, you put an hyphen, then planning model. The P process planning model. We also have the ACADA communication planning model. ACADA, that is ACADA, ACADA communication planning model. The ACADA communication planning model. The P process planning model. Now we'll look at the P process planning model. Now the P process model is actually a framework that has been developed to guide development and execution of strategic communication programs. You know, it's a model that has been developed and designed to guide or facilitate development and the execution of strategic communication programs that leads to either social change or behavioral change communication. So the P process model was actually designed in 1982. It is designed in 1982 by Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. Many of us may be aware of Johns Hopkins is a very I think one of the best hospitals in the United States, one of the best hospitals in the United States of America, and they are engaged in research, they are engaged in behavior change communication, over time. They've developed programs, models. That's where the celebrated this Black American Ben Carson. I think that's where he worked. It was one of those places that he worked, and he became a celebrity. So they have actually developed a lot of programs. That has to do with health campaigns, framework. So it was developed in 1982 by Johns Hopkins, School of Public Health, and they also have a center. They call it Center for Communication Programs. They have a Center for Communication. It's basically a research center that engages in research, investigation, and so on and so forth. And they have brought about solutions to so many societal issues, particularly health issues, and so on and so forth. Now, this model, it was, like I said, it was developed in 1982, but it was now revised. The model was revised in 2003 by the Health Communication Partnership. It was revised in 2003 by the Health Communication, Partnership. Now, we will look at some basic principles of the P process model. We'll look at some basic principles of the P process model. Number one is strategic thinking. I said the first is strategic thinking. Now, in this model, DEFCON experts and communicators are encouraged to engage in strategic thinking. Strategic thinking helps in the provision of direction in solving a particular, area of concern or issue of concern and that is why strategic communication is very key, because virtually everything that the government does and every policy and programs that they rolled out, they need strategic communication in order to pass that message out for people to be able to. So strategic communication is key. And in strategic communication, you have, just like the way we have a variety and a multiplicity of channels of communications, depending on the type of issue that is on ground, the nature and the application of the communication, and also the channel to be adopted for the communication must be predicated upon the basis, upon the peculiarity of the people, the community, their access to information, and so on and so forth. So it depends on a variety of other, variables. So the first is strategic thinking. Number two is leadership support. Leadership support. Now, the P process identified the fact that for development communication to be successful, it's not a one-man activity. Leadership support must be built based. It must be built in the locality. It must be built nationally. It must be built regionally. Now, that is if people must see the light of the day regarding any development, action. Leadership support must be key. So, and the P process also try as much as possible to galvanize, to mobilize leadership at various levels, at the local level, national level, and so on and so forth, to be able to key into. It's quite easy when there is high sense of leadership support. In fact, most DEFCON programs that have high sense of leadership support end up becoming successful, unlike others that either the leaders or the stakeholders didn't endorse, So leadership support is key. And then the next one is audience participation. Now the P process thrives, it thrives actually on audience participation. The audience or the people are encouraged to actively get involved in every stage of the program. That is needs assessment, the planning strategy, carrying out, local activities, assisting also in monitoring and evaluation, and then also engaging in advocacy. Now, all the processes, the locals are encouraged, are provided a platform, the latitude, to get engaged in the process so that they can now own the program or the initiative. Now, apart from audience participation, now the next principle of the P process is interdisciplinary approach. Now, it helps in interdisciplinary approach. What I mean by interdisciplinary approach is now the research community acknowledges the fact that for a project to come to fruition, the quality of the project will be enhanced if you have variety of experts. And that is why even in academic research now, it is encouraged that researchers to engage in multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary research. When you have people from a variety of disciplines coming together to engage in a research, you discover that the quality of the research is enhanced. Unlike the process of thinking, the output, the input and the output, is quite different than when a single individual is carrying out research. Different scholars, different people can bring in their perspective, regarding the issue at hand. So the P process acknowledges that fact, that interdisciplinary approach is the way to go. So when you are dealing with a particular problem, maybe let's say like a health problem, the communicator can be there, the media person can be there, the professional expert, or maybe drug-related issues, So you bring these various experts and you work together, and then you realize that the program will be successful because every individual will bring his own expertise, in the process. And then there will be a better outcome in terms of research. And then another thing again, another point that the P process identify is what we call public-private partnership. Public-private partnership. And I think we have experimented that, in Nigeria. When we are talking about privatization, just like someone will say that government have no business in business, just like it is the practice in other climes. Government are not supposed to be in business. Their major primary function is to provide the enabling environment. And it is the private sector that drives development. And so the P process also acknowledges this fact that, look, for development to take place, there must be a holistic, partnership, both with the private sector, the government, and also the people. All right. So this is very important. And we have tried it in this country, even though it works in some other areas. And then in some other areas, we didn't have a good outcome. But there must be partnership, public-private, partnership, so that the people can also feel the pulse, of governance. So that's very important. So building partnership among government agencies, non-governmental organizations, commercial sector, try as much as possible to reinforce, communication programs, and also to share materials, messages, trainings, and other resources that may be helpful, in the development communication process. So public-private partnership. Now the next point is multiple channels. Now the P process also recognizes the fact that when you want to bring about transformation or development, you must engage a multiplicity of channels of communication, because depending on the issue at hand, now you cannot rely on only one channel of communication. When you have multiple channels, they can help to give out the message, to the people. So that is also very key. It's also very important. So in a community, for example, if let's say if it is a community, you may not just only rely on the media. You may also get the people engaged in interpersonal communication, or what we call participatory communication. And so because this also helps, many a times messages that are on the media may not actually drive attitudinal change. And so you need a combination of interpersonal communication and other forms of communication to be able to drive development initiative. So it also recognizes that that space that you need to use different channels of communication. Now the next one is the use of edutainment approach. In the history of development communication, it came to a time where the concept of edutainment, that is EDU, then you put the hyphen, tainment, TAI, that's entertainment, TAINMENT, so they call it edutainment. Some of us are familiar with that. Some scholars, believe that if you want to pass a message across to people, particularly message that has good attitudinal change, you must include the element of entertainment. So they call it edutainment approach. Now, they discover that, entertainment is key and is important. So when you bring a variety or an aspect of entertainment in the educational aspect, that is why the theater for development approach in development communication is important, because they bring the aspect of entertainment while communicating a particular message, to the people of the community. So there is a blend of, entertainment and then education. So it is called the theater for development approach. A good example is maybe if you discover that a community is suffering from drug addiction or drug and substance abuse, what you need to do is, and you want to engage them, particularly if you want to change their attitudes and their belief system, you will not just place messages on the mass media. No, you want to go to that community and then interface with them. You can do dance drama, and in the dance drama, you depict the consequences of drug abuse. That is more, it's more enlightening and it is more impactful because the people will be there to see physically, and as you do that, we are also providing entertainment. And so number one is it attracts and gets the attention of the people, and so on and so forth. And then passing the message at the same time. Then the next point is training and capacity building. Training and capacity building. Now, at every stage of the P process model, training of individuals and building institutional capabilities are very, very important to the outcome of every behavior change program. And so there must be training and retraining of personnel, of the experts, in order to get in tune with the realities, on ground. And then the last but not the least is monitoring and evaluation. It's important when you plan for, you have to evaluate, you have to monitor from start, to finish. You need to monitor the project, what's the outcome, and then on a regular, it could be a quarterly basis, regular basis, to ensure that necessary arrangements, are put in place to achieve the desired objective of the initiative. And so time to time, you have to monitor, you have to evaluate. This is one of the reasons why development communication initiative is not sustainable in Africa, because we have a very poor mechanism system of monitoring and evaluation. And so that's very important. So when you monitor, you evaluate, and if there are fundamental problems, you have to go back again to the drawing board, identify the issues, the gaps, and then try as much as possible to. So monitoring and evaluation is key, to the process. Let me pause here, and so that maybe we can take some comments and then questions if we have, before we look at the P process itself, what is involved in the P process. Are you there? Are you there or I'm alone?
Yes, sir, we're together.
Yes, we are there. We are together.
We are with you, sir. We are with you.
We are with you.
All right. So I said, let me pause here and take some maybe comments or contributions, so that before we look at the actual P process. and the things involved.
Please, who's having a kid should minimize the distraction place in the class. Thank you.
Lecture is so maybe you can just go ahead.
Okay. All right. So let's look at the P process. The actual P process. Number one, in the P processes, the first process is analysis. That's the first step in the P process. Analysis in developing any effective communication program. It is analysis. Now, the communication program starts with accurate information and in-depth understanding of the problem, the people, existing government policies and programs, active organizations, communication channels, and then qualitative and as well as quantitative information is needed. Now, in analysis involves situations where you have to describe the nature, the causes of the problem. Are there remote causes? Are there immediate causes? You are trying to do an analysis. You want to dissect. You want to diagnose the problem. How the problem started, what is the origin of the problem in that community, how that problem came into being. What were the effects? What are the effects of this problem? And so on and so forth. Have there been any form of intervention before by a government, by non-governmental organization, by spirited individual? So you are trying to do a situational analysis. So this must be carried out because you want to find out the nitty-gritty surrounding the issue. So a thorough analytical research must be done. You must ask questions, ask the stakeholders, ask the people, regarding the program. Now, if there has been an intervention, what has happened, as a result of that? What was the effect of the intervention? Was it sustainable? If it wasn't sustainable, what made it not to be sustainable? And so on and so forth. So these are the questions you asked in analysis, in the situational analysis of the issue. Then the second is the strategic design. Strategic design. Now, every communication program or project needs a strategic design. That is why DEFCOM actually thrives on strategic communication. Communication that is aimed and targeted to a particular, audience, people, locality, as the case may be. So after the strategic situational analysis, it's now, after the analysis will now provide you with an idea of developing a strategic design with a roadmap, which will informed the development of your objective, of the communication program. So the communication objectives must be established after this series of analysis. And the objective should be should be, couched in what we call SMART. There's an acronym that is called SMART. That is SMART. There's an acronym called SMART. Some of us may know it. Those of us who usually attend or facilitate DEFCON programs. SMART, that's SMART. Now, the objective must be capsulated in this SMART acronym. Now, the S now stands for specific. The objective you must have a specific objective. So the S stands for specificity. You have to be specific. Then the M stands for measurable. Your objective should be able to be measurable so that at the end of the day, you can be able to measure its effectiveness or ineffectiveness. It must be measurable. And then the A stands for appropriate. The objective must be appropriate that will match with the issue on ground. Then the R stands for realistic. Now, if you are drawing up an objective that is unrealistic, then the aim may not be achieved. Drawing a bogus objective may not be realistic. And then the T stands for what? Time bound. Now, in drawing the communication program, you must have a time frame. The time frame can be it can be 3 months, it can be 6 months, it can be 1 year. In most of these development partners or agencies, you realize that they'll give you a time frame. They'll say within 1 year or 2 years, you're going to work on this project. So each of these objectives must be tied to a time frame. There must be a time frame. That is the strategic plan, the strategic device. So the key audience segments are identified. So you identify the channels of communication to use. You determine the approach, the implementation plan, the strategic, everything is encapsulated, together. So that forms a strategic, design. Now, after this has been done, the next step is what we call message and materials development. Message and materials development. Now, all this, from stage 1 to this point is brain work, is paperwork. All right. So at this point, you begin to design messages. You begin to design materials. Depending on the issue that we are working on. And like we see also, the issue you are working on will inform the media approach or selection of media to be used. So you begin to design messages that will be placed on these various media of communication. So when you look at it, you may want to do jingles. You may want to do community engagement. You may want so many depending. You may want to print posters, handbills, that will communicate the issue depending on the community and their own level of engagement. Then you design messages and then materials development, and then you begin. The next thing is pre-testing and production. So you begin to test these materials, at a minimal level first. We call it the pre-test. You will test it maybe among just a couple of a segment of a small population, maybe 10, 20. you want to test this material, these messages that you have designed, whether the messages are designed in such a way that it will elicit what you are looking for, the needed behavioral change in a particular aspect of their life. And so you do pre-testing, just like also in research. Before you go to the main field to elicit your data, to get your data, you need to engage in what we call pre-testing. It's part of the process of validating your research instrument. So you carry a pilot study. So it's like a pre-test, a pilot study, where you share your questionnaire, or maybe you test your instrument of data collection. So you may decide to test it within, 20 respondents, 10 respondents, so that you now test, get the outcome of their engagement with your instrument. So from there, it will give you an idea whether by the time you want to go to the field proper, your research will fly at the end of the day. And then usually after the pre-testing, you have to get a feedback. You have to get a feedback, because the feedback will enable you to know whether what you have tested, you pre-tested, it has actually achieved its goal or not. If it has not, then you will have to re-strategize, and then also interface with the people. Then when this is done, the next is implementation and monitoring. And this is the actual high point of the P process, where you begin to implement all that you have planned. You start implementing it, disseminating the messages, engaging the stakeholders, and carry out the actual objective of the communication process or planned. Monitoring and evaluation is also there. You appraise the situation time to time, as the case may be. And then the last but not the least is evaluation and replanning. Evaluation and replanning. Now, the evaluation measures the outcome and assess the impact of the whole entire program. You must carry out an assessment, an evaluation, to know whether actually there is an impact in the process of the entire program, whether the program has been impactful or not. And so you want to find out, get some feedback from the people whom the program was meant for, get to feel and to hear their own perspective of the story. From there, you begin to have some hints whether the program has actually impacted the people or not. And that will help you to forecast, for the future. And in a situation where the program didn't meet or achieve the desired goal, you have to go back again to the stage one, to find out what actually went wrong. What happened? At what point did you miss the process? So you ask questions. So the evaluation and the replanning. So by the time you evaluate and you discover there was a shortcoming, then you have to replan. You have to replan again, still follow the same process, and then get to the evaluation process all over again. So in essence, this is the P process model, and many people have actually applied this model to engage in development, developing their communities and their communities and their countries. So in essence, this is what the P process model is. So I'm going to pause here. Let's entertain some questions or maybe comments before we call it a day. Yes, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are with you.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, I'm hearing.
Good evening, sir. Prof.
Yeah,
On the
good.
lecture, sir.
Hello?
Hello.
Auntie
Are
Liga,
you hearing?
Liga, yeah, as you are talking now, you are heard.
Okay, sir.
Continue.
I've seen somebody is interrupting. That's why I have to keep quiet. Good evening, sir, Prof, and good evening, everybody there.
Yeah, good evening.
Thank you very much. Everything is understood. But what I want to ask here is that you have discussed all these strategies of the communication P process without mentioning budgeting, funding. So DIVCOM does not involve budgeting or funding. That is what I want to know, sir.
No. It's an important aspect of it.
Okay, sir.
It's an important aspect.
Okay, sir.
We will talk about that in the subsequent, in the next class.
Okay, sir.
Yes, it is a very, very an aspect that you can't do without, because if you don't have a budget, there is no way. In fact, even if you want to access grant from international organization, it's one of those criteria that you have to bring you have to do a budget. Yeah, you have to bring a budget.
Okay, sir.
But in this particular approach, I think they've not taken care. Maybe that's one of the weaknesses of this approach.
Okay,
But there
sir.
are subsequent approaches that they talk about budget. So it's an integral part of it. How do you evaluate? It's you need money now to go around. You need transportation.
Logistics.
You need the logistics. Yeah. So they are actually part of it, even though they might
Okay,
not be
sir.
obvious in terms of
Okay.
dimension.
Prof, why I ask that one? Like the last point, evaluation and replanning. Do you
Yeah.
have to do that? You have to undertake a survey.
Why not?
Survey research to
Now
arrive
you
at that.
can't do that. Yes, you can't do that while sitting at home now.
Okay, sir.
Of course, you have to go around. You have to ask questions. So there is budget, even though we didn't talk about it.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Let's move.
All right. Yes. Any other further contributions again?
Babu.
Babu, I just have to ask, where are you? This is a major, please speak.
Actually, I'm okay with his explanations. I'm just going to read wider. And,
Yes. Yes.
try
Yes.
to understand these terms.
Yes. There is a book. There is a book I'm going to recommend for you. Maybe I may snap the book. It's a book on DEFCON written by Professor Memoka. I will snap it. I don't know. Maybe snap it and send it to. I don't know whether I can lay my hand on the book right now.
Just let us have a flash of the hard copy or the back page. We can recognize from there.
Okay. Okay, maybe I may. I'll do that maybe later. I'll do that. It's a very good book on DEFCON that you also need to have. I'll check my library and then
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for your effort, sir.
yeah.
One question, please, sir.
Yes, it's okay.
Hello, sir.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah. In a situation where deaf communication or practitioner is facing challenges in executing a program because of mistrust that have been existed between the government and the people, and people were having such phobia of responding positively to any issue that's coming from government, or they have termed every
Wasn't to reassurance, and then keeping hope alive that every government, since government is a continent, every government has its own modus operandi of operation. Yes, that is the process. I think
yes, like this pretest census, they come. I witnessed one of them that came around my area and they want to pretest, but some people don't want to respond because they say, "What are they doing with it? The government is not doing anything with it. That they are not going to respond."
Yes, and so it's still like I said, is the people, the expert will just have to reassure. I have to just reassure them. That's the only thing they can do. I was also part and parcel of the census process too, as facilitator. So that was what we are taught. You just have to just reassure the people that since government is a continuum, they should not just discard, what they are doing. They should just give government a chance. Maybe this particular government might be different from the one
the other one. Yeah.
Previous ones. So it's just the ability of you, the person, to be able to convince and then reassure the people. I also faced that issue because by the time they asked us to go out and engage on some practical aspects, I also met a man too who, in fact, that man he said he's not ready to answer any question, that he's even sick, that let his daughter answer all the questions, that he doesn't have the strength. So like that, people can be apathetic, to government, but hey, we just have to reassure them. Just like voting, voters are party, It's like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments so that I can retire? I have to do some work later in the night. After I must have read too.
I think everybody is satisfied with the class so far. And if there's no other comments, we might allow you to rest for another time. But Doctor, I think there's something I remember that you said the guy was supposed to have tomorrow novel again. Your class is next tomorrow, actually, not tomorrow.
Okay, it's next tomorrow.
Yeah, so we're gonna have the Saturday class instead of that's physical, and that'll be good.
It's all right.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
I'll take a look at whether Saturday or Sunday, which one will be better, and then I will communicate to you.
All right, sir. That's okay. I will thank you so much for communicating to Professor Rabi. which will further enhance our commitment on the future conventions.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Good night,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right, so thank you and then good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
We are very grateful to you, sir.
Mm.
It's okay. Very good.
Legal the analog, now the complete digital compliance.
I don't acclimatize now.
No, you're
I
not
don't
acclimatizing. You are
acclimatize.
active.
I
You are
don't
an active
acclimatize
member.
now.
Very active, not even acclimatizing. Very active.
Okay, thank you very much.
But why you wearing your
Okay.
cap? Why wearing the cap in the midnight?
We are cap in the house. Why are we wearing cap in the house?
That's cold. Cold. That is cold.
Huh?
That's cold in my house.
Oh, you didn't
It's
prepare
not
for the
on
lecture.
cap covering anything.
About the class is over now. Why are you challenging me like that? What is your problem?
What do you mean by that? You have to correct you.
Are we coming to school tomorrow?
I think we should because of
Class with
Grab you.
because of Professor Akase.
Iguve.
No,
Okay,
Iguve not tomorrow.
Huh?
It's next tomorrow.
Professor Iguve is next tomorrow.
Don't mind.
Okay.
For
Huh?
Aquarius presentation.
See,
Is it
today's
Thursday
lesson is
or
just I just managed to participate in today's lesson. Yesterday they snatched my phone.
We are aware.
So
Yeah?
sorry about that.
I
So
tell
sorry
you,
about
and
that.
unfortunately, it's a woman that snatched snatched it from my
Yeah.
pocket.
What a man can do, a woman can do better.
I tell you, but
you didn't fear her now. You for fear her now. You didn't fear her.
Eh?
That's why she snatched it. You didn't fear her. That's why she snatched it. You didn't fear her now. You for fear her so that she will not snap next time.
All right, guys. I think
thank you.
wanted to
See
save
tomorrow.
data now. Then sign up for now. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Let's tomorrow's class. We have the HOD by 11. Akwede's presentation by
3.
1.
Yes.
2 o'clock.
I think we
So
should everybody has to be in school for personal runs or cohesion now. And also, we're supposed to have a meeting in the class. So we should use the morning hours for the convention so we can resolve pending issues. Considering the fact that very soon we may be having exams, and there will no time to talk again in the group. So I think the convention should be done that tomorrow on the spare time that we have for lectures. So we prepare for the second lecture about. In my opinion, that's what I think should be done. You know.
That's okay, but I'm leaving Mina tomorrow morning, so I won't be there not until 11 o'clock.
Oh.
Me too. I'm leaving just in the morning.
Me too. I'm leaving Lagos in the morning.
I'm leaving Latvia in the afternoon.
Lala, I can see that you and I. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Mm.